plans and catastrophizing the future all the time and this bad thing and what if they reject me and what if I humiliate myself and what if I make a fool of myself and what if I don't succeed and what if I fail. If you have this kind of a voice running your life, we need to have a conversation about that. First of all, please know this is very, very common. People call this anxiety. Some people call it fear of uncertainty, fear of the future. Very, very common and very, very useless. And I'm going to show you in this video how you can stop this for once and for all, because this literally, this is the thing that is holding you back from living your best life, that is holding you back from experiencing magic in your life, from maybe starting that business, maybe having that conversation, maybe going on that date, whatever. So the subject of this video is fear, and how can you finally put an end to it so that you can feel more confident, so that you can feel more courageous, so that you can have more inner peace, so that you can look to your future with more excitement. Would that be useful to you? So that's what we're going to cover in this video. As a hypnotherapist, one of the most important things that I can tell you is, if this fear truly is out of hand, where you're like, no matter what, I try positive thinking, I try mindset work, I try to be optimistic, I tell myself, you shouldn't be this way. If you have already done and tried everything, maybe you've read the books and you've watched the videos and you listen to motivational videos on nonstop, right? And if you still feel like this anxiety or this fear is still running your life, I want you to understand something very, very, very important. This is actually not your fault. It is also not, not a character flaw. This is not a faulty personality. And no, this is not just how you're wired. Okay, and often people think, well, these are just my genetics. My parents were very, they were scared a lot, and so therefore I am. I mean, you learned it from your parents. Yes, I will go as far as that. Yes, you did learn it somewhere, and that's the point. What you're experiencing with this overwhelming amount of fear, right? Where you're maybe afraid to put yourself out there, or afraid to speak up in the boardroom, or maybe you're afraid to lead the team, or even go out socially, or how many people have I worked with that literally are afraid to leave their home because of this social anxiety, right? Fear of flying, fear of driving. Those are classic examples that hold people back from living their best life. But please understand, this is something you can change. And please also understand, because the biggest complaint that I hear is, Susan, I've already done all kinds of therapy. I have done energy healing. I've done Reiki. I've heard all kinds of uh, tools that people have tried, only to find out that it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you why that didn't work. It's not because you're not working it hard enough. It's not because you're not strong enough. It has, again, nothing to do with, it's because you have been given incomplete tools. Let me explain. Just understanding a problem, talking about the problem, going back into the past and blaming, oh, it's because of my past, it's because of my parents. Again, sounds like it should work. It doesn't. What's going on here is that there's childhood programming running your adult life, and that comes from your subconscious. So, yes, there's a part of your mind that is logic, conscious. That part of you is very small. It's responsible for decision making, for logic, and for just thinking, right? The sub and so many people try to fix this fear using logic. Doesn't work. And that's why they're stuck with the problem, but nobody tells them that. Until you get working with the subconscious, you see, your subconscious is in control of your habits, of your beliefs, of those things that happen on autopilot. That includes the fear, the anxiety, responsible for your emotions and how do you respond to life. And if there is a program in your subconscious that is causing this anxiety, there is no amount of talking about it that will fix it. There's no amount of motivational videos. There's no amount of I should be stronger. I should have figured this out. That sounds more like you're beating yourself up. And that typically doesn't work so good either. It only makes the problem worse because then the person feels like I should I'm an adult. I should have figured this out. Doesn't work like that. You need to get working at the level of the subconscious. And again, the biggest complaint by the time people come to me, they've already done exhausted all kinds of tools, modalities, and it didn't work. Yeah, because you're it's like telling somebody you're barking up the wrong tree. Does that make sense? And needless to say, once you get working with your subconscious, as Carl Jung said, until you make conscious what's in your unconscious, it will control your life. And then we call it bad luck, we call it genetics, we call it fate. No, it's called engineering. And if there is a program in there that is running your life and running your life and ruling your life unbeknownst to you, that's why it's right. That's why I said until you make conscious what's in your unconscious. There's information there right now that is out of your conscious awareness. Once you gain access to it and then you change the program, it's almost like going into a computer. Okay, if there is you clickety clack and the letters are coming out completely wrong and you're pushing hard and all of that, none of that makes a difference until you go to the store and they're like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with the computer, there's a virus in there. Well, anxiety and fear, especially when it's so overwhelming, same exact thing. So we get to pull out the virus, so to speak, put in something in place that would actually work better for you, and then you begin to have a different relationship with life. And you no longer have this irrational fear that is literally the fear of the fear, right? I hear this all the time too. So, on one level, this fear is human, it's good, it is trying to protect you, and we want to keep that level of fear. But when that 1% fear turns into 90% fear, that's when it becomes unhealthy because you feel depleted, you feel exhausted, you feel like it's your fault, you're trying so hard, nothing has worked. That's not fun. So, and again, this is a very, very common problem. I consider anxiety and this irrational fear an invisible thief of your joy because those same people that have this overwhelming anxiety, you'll see them out on the street, they have a big smile on, they pretend like everything's fine, but inside, not so fine. You would never know because it's not like somebody has a broken leg, you can see it, right? So it's very yeah, it's subconscious. It sort of plays underneath the surface, and so many people suffer with this, and then often are being medicated and given all. And again, that's only temporary relief. That literally is the ability to suppress the symptoms, but the problem is still there. Or even coping skills, those are a distraction at best. I'm not a big fan of them because, again, nobody even took care of the problem yet. If I tell you to do some breathing techniques, like, yeah, you might get some temporary relief or even meditating, which is ridiculous. That's not what you need. You need rewiring, reprogramming the subconscious, and then you actually won't need those breathing techniques anymore because it's just for what purpose? Um, so I wanted to find out if you guys had any questions about this. And yeah, because probably in my practice, I would say anxiety and fear and self esteem issues are probably the biggest piece of what I typically get to work with. So, and the best part is that you can change relatively quickly. This does not mean decades of intervention. Mm-mm. Hours, hours. Think about it logically. When you work with the part of you that needs help, then you'll change quickly. So, thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, I think you know where to find me. I also have a link somewhere here in YouTube land where you can book a free call. And of course, I will be happy to have a conversation with you. And I'll see you soon. Take care.